The Celtics win, never in doubt. Oh my God, Jaylen Brown clutch to force OT. Derek White kicks out to Jason Tatum to go up 4 late in overtime. The Celtics had no business winning this game. Wade Spoody, what's going on, man? Holy shit.
Jaylen Michael motherfucking Jordan Brown, dude. Holy shit. The 3 overshadows. He's the one that forced Siakam to knock that ball out of bounds that even led to the 3. And he had that massive steal in overtime. And like JB, like I feel like he didn't have a massive quarter, but he just kept it humming the entire game. It's like 5 points, 5 points, 5 points, 6 points. And all of a sudden he's got like 26, 5, 5, and 3 steal. That was like one of the best games I've seen Jaylen Brown played, other than that one turnover where he just was like, here you go, Pascal, take the ball. Yeah. But that was fucking crazy, dude.
Holy shit. Up 1-0, Eastern Conference Finals, never in doubt. I mean, Jaylen, he had some rough stretches in this game, man, where it looked like he completely fell asleep during certain stretches as late as the game got, really. And then he had that awakening with that insane clutch corner 3, which Siakam fouled him on the elbow with his face, which was not called. I have notes, man, but like I can't see. My eyes are blurry, man. Like first with the rage, now with just like gushing euphoria. I don't know. Where do you want to start? Like first, I'll start with this. I was saying in the many chats I was in during the game that we are due for some late game heroics, for some late game magic to go our way, where we have the opposing fan base go, how the fuck did we lose that game? What happened? How did we let go of the rope? And finally, right when we needed it, game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and sitting there already imagining the media narratives of the Celtics losing this game. Tatum had a missed wide open 3 slightly earlier, I think in regulation, may have been in overtime, where he just missed completely wide open, and I'm writing the eulogy, the game 1 loss eulogy, and then we have our magic crunch time moment, and the Celtics win. I think that's the best place to start.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think it would have tied the game, that JT3, with like a minute and a half left. I think Horford had either just missed a wide open one or missed a wide open one immediately after. And it's just like, oh man, this just isn't going to happen tonight. And then when Siakam let that ball go out of bounds, they brought, it's like, don't get sucked back in. Like, don't get your hopes up. And then JB hits the 3, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, just let it go to overtime. And once overtime started, I was actually pretty confident. Like, when you just like crush a team's spirit like that, it is really hard for that team to be like, okay, now let's go get them in overtime, boys. Like, I know we thought we won this game 12 seconds ago, but we got to play 5 more minutes. So thank you, Nick. That is, we appreciate it. I've been standing in my living room since 2 minutes left in regulation. Yeah, I was like in the psych ward down here in my basement, like bouncing from wall to wall. I still can't believe they won that game.
We're going to be live here for another 10 minutes or so until the Garden Report kicks off, and then you can catch them live. They usually go for a couple of hours over there on the CLNS channel, and then Jake and I will be back much later tonight, 12:30 a.m. for Celtics Late Night, which I think Jake is watching the game on delay, so he's yet to experience all of that. So let's leave him alone for a couple of hours, but him and I will be live later on. Derek White fouling Halliburton, so I can barely speak. I guess midway through overtime, Hallie hits them both, or all 3 of them.
All 3.
They go up a couple, starting to doom spiral again at that point, Spoonie. But there were just so many clutch plays. Drew forcing the Halliburton turnover at half court in transition there. That was a monster play. I don't know what else stands out to you. There's so much bad stuff that I kind of want to get to, because those are all the notes I was taking. Like, the Celtics are fucking this game up, and then there's just a little bit of magic at the end, and that's all we needed.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll say is, like, just in general, we forced like 23 turnovers on the Pacers, and a lot of them were like massive, holy shit, this game is kind of getting out of hand, or like we might be losing the rope here. And then often it was Jaylen coming up with a big steal, or, forcing a shot clock violation, which we did late in the 4th. You're right. Like, this is a bad win. I mean, bad wins don't exist. I really believe that. This is a moral loss, I guess. It's like if you're going to have a moral win and a loss, this is like a win with a moral loss, which is like perfect because they have a lot to build on. You know, they kept coming out dominating game 1 and then losing game 2. I have a feeling we won't see that happen in game 2. Like we escaped. This might be the worst game we play in this series because they really looked so rusty. How many friggin' layups did we miss, Ben? Holy shit.
Late too.
Yeah.
Like they seemed like game losing bunny misses at that point in the game where I was like, well, fuck, if we're not hitting those, it's not our night. And then somehow it was our night. Unbelievable. Yeah, I don't think that the Celtics will play this badly again, or at least not in game 2. There's so many clear improvements, and like we can get into the pick and roll defense if we've got time, because that was like the clear bringer of doom, I guess, for the Celtics in this one. Sorry, my brain is still not ticking over here. It was not good, the pick and roll defense for the Celtics in this one. But again, we managed to prevail. Who was the MVP of this game? Was it Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum? You mentioned Jalen's performance before.
Yeah, I think it's probably Drew if I'm thinking like rationally throughout the entire game. He was like nearly perfect. I mean, he was really, really awesome on both ends. And it felt like he kind of figured Halliburton out in that second half. Like he still got his here or there, but often it was like Allen too deep of a drop and he just walks into a pull-up 3. But anytime Hallie couldn't get Drew off of him, he had absolutely nothing for Drew Holiday. And then I don't even have the box score up. I'm just like too psychotic right now. But at one point, I think he had like 24 points too on extremely efficient shooting and like 6 or 7 assists. So Drew was absolutely incredible, and we needed like every piece of it.
28 points for Drew, along with 3 steals, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds, 4 of 4 from the line, 10 of 16 shooting from the floor, 50% from 3 on 4 of 8. Just like a nice collection of stats there for Drew Holiday. Jason Tatum had his ups and downs in this one. He was all over the boards. He had 12 of them to end the night. He had 3 steals also. 36 points. I don't want to call it. Like, is that a quiet 36? Because he did just kind of chip away throughout the game. There wasn't like a big scoring punch. Obviously, he hit that big 3 late, finally, once he got a second wide open-ish attempt. But a quiet 36 for Jalen in this one. For Jason, sorry.
Yeah, and I felt like Tatum was settling for the mid-range jumper way too much. Like against the Heat and less so Cleveland, but still Cleveland a little bit. Like I get it. They've got these elite rim protectors. They've got these kind of bigger, good wings. They're a smart defensive team that can get your handle if you try to get all the way to the rim. That ain't Indy. Like, dude, put your head down and get to the rim. And I'm not usually the guy who like says that as a criticism of Jason Tatum, but this is the series where you have to be thinking that every single time you get the ball. But especially like in that fourth quarter when it felt like it was slipping away, he wasn't really involved. He looked kind of checked out at one point. And then as we started to things started to go our way late, he got really involved. And I thought he was great in overtime for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that game immediately before we do late night to actually get a register on what happened. But yeah, incredible. Who else stood out to you, or what else stood out to you in this one, Spoonie?
Yeah, I at the risk of being too negative, but again, I think you're right that there's probably more negatives to take away from this game than positives. Derek is kind of worrying me, mostly defensively. Like he just doesn't look up for it physically on the defensive end. Like Indy's got, like Siakam got like. It's like he wasn't even there guarding Siakam. One time Miles Turner shot right over the top of him, which is fine. That's going to happen when you're a point guard. But like even Nesmith didn't really look afraid of him going to the rim. And I just like to see Derek kind of up the physicality one more level. Because he's always going to be a smart, good off-ball defender. He had that one ridiculous, like that lob he somehow got to. I have no idea how he got to that. But for the most part, I feel like we will see better versions of Derek White, especially defensively going forward.
Yeah, I think so. He clearly had the worst game of the starters and kind of failed to assert himself. But he did hit some big shots. He had that big corner 3 late in regulation, I want to say. And he obviously got that dribble penetration to get Tatum wide open for that 3 that put us up 4 towards the end of OT. So some good crunch time moments. Obviously, like the whole team has to perform well in crunch time to be able to scrape back and really win under those circumstances. So Derek had some moments there, but yeah, rough game for Derek White. We talked about Jalen. Al Horford, I thought was huge in the first half, just being aggressive, getting up for rebounds, taking the looks that the defense were giving him. Whenever we were setting a pick, the defense was just going with the ball handler and just leaving Al Horford wide open on the perimeter. He just catching the ball and just had an ocean of space in front of him to do whatever he wanted. In a lot of cases, that was jacking up threes. Only 2 of 8 from 3 in this game, but the aggressiveness, taking those looks, taking those opportunities, like that's going to be huge for him to find a level, find some consistency with those looks that the defense kind of has to give him. Like that's what they're conceding in this series, at least in game 1. So good that he was at least aggressive there. The bench really gave us nothing in this one, unfortunately. Sam Hauser looked like he was going to go back to being undrafted during this game. It was a real rough one. He even put up an air ball at one point.
And he was open too.
Yeah. He also blew a switch. There was one point, so the late in the third quarter, I'm getting to my notes here, which I shouldn't do because, like I said, most of them are negative before all the great crunch time stuff happened. And we are going to wrap up in a minute because I think the Garden Reporter are kicking off. But there was a blown switch between Sam Hauser and Jaylen Brown late in the third, which was this brutal stretch while Tatum went to the bench. And it just let TJ McCollum just like get straight to the did I just call him TJ McCollum?
You did, yeah.
Sorry, TJ. Get straight to the rim for an easy layup, which you just can't have. And that was just one of many, many bad instances in that late third quarter stretch, which I think at that point, the Celtics had an opportunity to just completely run away with the game. In fact, they had many opportunities to run away with the game throughout regulation. Late in the third, that was the worst. All of that just puts this late game shit up on a bigger pedestal because it just makes it that much more miraculous that we did actually come back and win this one, Spoonie.
Yeah, dude, I feel like this, Indy won the series against New York, but this is kind of similar to what happened in game 1 in New York with them, where they just like let it slip out of their hands at the very end of the game. But we're a much better team than that battered and beaten version of the Knicks. Like, you have to have this game if you're Indy. Like, you just can't lose this game with how poorly we played. And I mean, at one point we were floating around like 31% from 3. We shot 33% from 3. They're at 37%, which I think is about what you can expect from them. And we missed a lot of, and Al Horford especially missed a lot of wide open threes. But on the bench, like, Cornette just cannot play. He just fucking cannot play in this series, dude. Like, they will spread you out. Everybody can shoot, dribble, and pass. And he looked totally lost on the defensive end. And he was, like, jumping at pump fakes. Like, dude, you just did so good against Mobley, against Bam, for, like, 10 games. You were doing so good. Why now? Why on the bigger stage are you just like jumping at Pascal Siakam's bullshit pump fakes? Like, he's just like Bam. Just stay down. He won't shoot over you. So, but even if he figures that out, dude, like, they're just going to make him defend in space. And it's like terrifying watching him out there, dude. It's like the indie ball handlers are just blowing right by him, right to the rim. And yeah, you covered Hauser was awful. I thought Pritchard was okay. Like, he's playable. He didn't have a great game, that's for sure, but he hit a couple shots. I thought he was active, getting downhill. He nashed it a few times. He had that nice little pull up. So PP is okay. He can play. Good God, come back, Tillman, please. Joe, please play Tillman.
He's going to have to. Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised we didn't see O'Shea for stretches in this one. We just saw a lot less Luke in the second half, thankfully. And like you mentioned Luke's defense, but like they were able to sag off of him and just pack the paint, while we were in our offensive sets as well, which just makes life more difficult for our guards and really anyone not named Luke Cornette. Certainly made life more difficult for me as a spectator. Look, we've got to wrap up. Like I said, we are going to be back in a couple hours' time with Celtics late night, sort of a longer, more thought out show where I'll actually have clarified my notes and rewatched the game and figured out what went on in this one. It's just total whirlwind of a finish, but we're glad to get on here and celebrate that eventual win. Celtics go up 1-0 in this Eastern Conference Finals. While you're here, there's 200 of you here. Please like the stream, subscribe to the First of the Four YouTube channel. Like I just said, we are going to be back soon. We're going to be back regularly after all games throughout the rest of this playoff run. So please hang around and click that like button. Any parting thoughts, Spoonie, before we wrap this one up?
I mean, I said Celtics in 5, and with about 30 seconds left in the game, I was like, maybe this is going 7. But now I'm feeling good about Celtics in 5. So let's go, boys. Get it done.
All right. Go Celtics. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
I love